Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Bible Study, Oakhill Style. Hope everybody's had a great week. This is the day and the week that the Lord has made, so we shall rejoice and be glad in it. I am Deacon Quentin Green. I'm one of the deacons here at Oakhill Church of God of Christ here in Tarpon Springs, Florida. My pastor is Ernest Crawford Sr., and I'm thrilled to be with you today. So, today we're going to be going over the book of Isaiah. First chapters 1 through 6. I think I got. There we go. And so, won't be here long. We'll try to be here no more than an hour, maybe less, depending on what the material is. Sometimes maybe more. But this is our introduction to Isaiah. We'll go through it, see what the Lord wants us to get out of it, and then we'll be done. All right. So, yeah. Also, before we go, let me go ahead and do this. Getting back to the swing of things. So the other one was up. So telling everybody to like, comment, subscribe. Facebook, YouTube. We're on X and on Instagram as well. And if you need to donate, the Cash App is down at the bottom, which you may have seen already. And also it'll be over here, this way, in the corner as well. So you can just scan it, take you right to the Cash App if you want to donate, if you want to give an offering, whatever on your heart to give, helps us out. And if you don't, if you're just getting it from the material, we're fine with that too. So, going to the book of Isaiah, and I'm gonna drop these thirds. There we go, cousin. So nothing's to run in, and I'll drop me too. All right. Oh, go back. All right, the book of Isaiah. So the name Isaiah means Jehovah saves. In the New Testament, he is referred to as Isaias, which is the Latin form of Isaiah. Isaiah has two sons whose names have a prophetic meaning. Jashab's name means a remnant shall return. Maher Shalahash Bas names means hasting to the spoils, hurrying to the prey. Isaiah is probably the most well known of all the Old Testament prophets because of his prophecies concerning the Messiah. He was a contemporary of Hosea, Amos, Jonah, Jonad, Oded, and Micah. Isaiah lived during the reign of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. The book Isaiah is sometimes compared to the Bible. The Bible is divided into 66 books. Isaiah is divided into 66 chapters. The first 39 books of the Bible reveal the humanity of man. The last 27 books of the Bible reveal the solution for humanity. The first 39 chapters of Isaiah reveal the fallacy of humanity. And the last 27 chapters reveal the infallible God intervening for fallible man. Isaiah was the son of Amos and is believed to be related to the royal house of Judah, possibly a cousin of King Uzziah. He lived during the reign of four kings of Judah: Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Tradition suggests that King Manasseh, Hezekiah's son, had Isaiah sawn in two. Hebrews 11:37 confirms that some men of faith were martyred by being sawn in two. So the book of Isaiah in the Bible is a long, complex work that can be broadly summarized as a message of judgment and hope for the nation of Israel and a call for repentance. It contains prophetic warnings about sin and coming judgment, but also offers promises of God's future restoration and the coming Messiah. It also includes accounts of God's interactions with individuals like King Hezekiah, as well as poems and oracles. So the judgment's warning, so sin and rebellion. Isaiah denounces the sins of Israel, including idolatry, hypocritical worship, and social injustice. And some of these things you're going to see that we're still going through today. Coming judgment. He warns of God's judgment, which will come through foreign powers like Assyria and Babylon, highlighting the consequences of their rebellion. And the hope and promise. Messiah's reign. Isaiah foretells the coming of a future king, a suffering servant, is Jesus, who will bring peace, who will bring justice, peace, and salvation to Israel and the nations. The restoration. He speaks of God's future acts of restoration and the creation of a new Jerusalem where God's people will be gathered and blessed. And the comfort and hope. The book also includes words of comfort and hope for the exiles in Babylon, including the concept of a servant who will suffer for their sins. And also key themes and ideas. God's holiness and righteousness. Isaiah emphasizes the holiness and righteousness of God, contrasting it with the sin and unrighteousness of Israel. The importance of justice. Isaiah calls for social justice, emphasizing the need to care for the poor and oppressed. It said, depending on how you feel, you may have our leaders might need to read Isaiah today themselves for some of the stuff that they're doing. Trust in God. The book challenges Isaiah to trust in God's promises, even during times of crisis and judgment, and God's plan for the world. Isaiah's vision extends beyond Israel, suggesting that God has a larger plan for the world, which will be fulfilled through the Messiah and a new Jerusalem. And the last one, structure and context. So this outlines the chapters, what's going on in the chapters, about focusing the first 39, chapters 13 through 23, 24 through 27, 28, 33, 36, 39, and 40 through 66. So I'm not going to read all those because we'll go ahead and keep going. All right, chapter 1. So I'll go ahead and bring all those back, and we'll get started. The vision concerning Judah and Jerusalem that Isaiah, son of Amos, saw during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Okay. A rebellious nation. Hear me, you heavens. Listen, earth. For the Lord has spoken. I reared children and brought them up, but they have rebelled against me. The ox knows its master, the donkey its owner's manager. But Israel does not know. My people do not understand. Woe to the sinful nation, a people whose guilt is great, a brood of evildoers, children given to corruption. They have forsaken the Lord. They have spurned the Holy One of Israel and turned their backs on him. I got ahead. Let's talk about what's going on. This is going on during the times where God is giving warnings to his people before they go into captivity. So before the Babylonians, and he sends the Babylonians and Assyrians to capture Judah and the Jerusalem and Israel. He's warned them about what they're doing. He's given them warnings about their actions, warning them to turn from what they're doing. And this is to the point where God, even God gets fed up. And so he's telling them the prophecy about what's going on, what's going to happen. But he also is telling them from our introduction about how he's going to, the plans to restore them as well. And so if you're familiar with Book of Judges, the judges, that was the cycle when they was in Judges, that they would get in trouble. They would start worshiping or other guys. They would start doing what other cultures were doing. They would get in trouble, get in captivity. Then God would raise a judge up. It would deliver them to get them back on the path. And then they would start the whole cycle all over and over again. So this has all been happening up until this point, and to where the Lord says, okay, now you're going into captivity. This is the things that are happening. And he's telling the prophets about telling them what's happening. And then he gets to the point and says, you know what, just tell them they're going to go through this, but I'm going to bring them out of it. But they're going to have to go through it because these are the things that they're doing. And so this is, the Lord is giving the word to Isaiah about what the people are doing, explaining why they're going to go through this. But then, as we go on, he will explain his plans for restoration for his children. And the same thing that he does for us as well. He gives us warnings about things that we do. And it gets to a point where if you don't want to listen and you keep going further and further down the hole, that it gets to a point where, okay, I'm going to turn you over to what you're doing. You're going to become captives of what you're doing, but I do have a plan to restore you. But sometimes we have to learn the hard way because we're hard headed. And, we learn from our studies of the Bible that these people were hard, they were stiff necked and rebellious. And this is why he's talking about their rebellious, the rebellion that's going on within them now, to where they want to do what they want to do instead of living up to a standard that the Lord has set for them. And so this is what he's talking about in these verses right here. And so, why should you be beaten anymore? Why do you persist in rebellion? Your whole head is injured. Your whole heart is afflicted. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there is no soundness, only wounds and welts and open sores, not cleansed or bandaged or soothed with olive oil. Your country is desolate. Your cities burn with fire. Your fields are being stripped by foreigners right before you, laid waste as when overthrown by strangers. Now, once again, this stuff hasn't happened yet, but these are things that are going to happen because of their actions. So he's giving a little foreshadowing about things that are to come. Daughter Zion is left like a shelter in the vineyard, like a hut in a cucumber field, like a city under siege. Unless the Lord Almighty has left us some survivors, we would have become like Sodom. We would have been like Gomorrah. That means utterly destroyed. Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Listen to the instruction of our God, you people of Gomorrah. The multitude of your sacrifices, what are they to me, says the Lord? I have more than enough of burnt offerings, of rams, and the fat of fattened animals. I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats. When you come to appear before me, who has asked this of you, this trampling of my courts? Stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your your incense is detestable to me. New moons, Sabbaths, and convocations. I cannot bear your worthless assemblies. Your new moon feast and your appointed festivals I hate with all my being. They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I hide my eyes from you. Even when you offer many prayers, I am not listening. Your hands are full of blood. So everything they're doing is just um their heart's not in it. They're just going through the motions. It's meaningless. They're just doing it as part of ritual. They're not doing it because they're trying to get the Lord's heart or they're trying to get his attention. They're just, sometimes we get into our prayers like that too. Lord, thank you for this day. We thank you, yada, yada, yada. And we're not in it. It just becomes routine. The Lord doesn't want a routine. He wants that prayer, that conversation to actually have meaning. Now, you don't have to get into some prayer with a lot of feeling and all this stuff, but he wants you to be actively doing things and doing these festivals and the prayer and the sacrifice and stuff because you're trying to get his heart. You're trying to get his attention because you want it, not because you're just doing it just because it's something to do or because you've seen somebody else do it. And there are times in our life where our prayer life and our walk and stuff can get stagnant too, to where we're just going through the motions. But are we really trying to connect with the Lord? Are we really sorry for what we're doing? Are we really repentant for what we're doing? Or we're just doing it because, you know, we've been taught to do it so long that we don't really understand the meaning of it. Or we're so caught up in what we're doing that we don't understand the significance of coming to the Lord in prayer and being able to ask for forgiveness and walking upright in front of his sight. So this is what he's telling them. Wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. Take up the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. In other words, learn how to meet the needs of other people instead of worrying about yourself all the time. If you see stuff that's going wrong, speak out against it. Take up causes, help people in need instead of just getting caught up in our own selfish wants and desires. Come now, let us settle this matter, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be like wool. Here's the thing. 19. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat good things of the land. So, if you're willing, like I said, if you do what I ask you to do, there's nothing but good things in store for you. Nothing but good things. But in 20, if you resist and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Do you remember that from Deuteronomy chapter 28? I set before you this day blessings and curses. And understand the blessings, there were 68 verses in that chapter, and there were more verses about the curse than there were the blessing. The blessing doesn't have to be a lot of explanation doesn't need to be given for a blessing. But for the curse, and the curse came in waves. It was 3 waves it came in. And so the Lord wants good things for you if you're willing and obedient. And guess what? Nothing but good things. Don't need much to say there. But if you don't, you will be devoured. See how the faithful city has become a prostitute? She once was full of justice. Righteousness used to dwell in her, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross. Your choice wine is diluted with water. Your rulers and rebels, partners with thieves. They all love bribes and chase after gifts. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. So they all become corrupt. They all become selfish and pursue things of their own desires instead of doing what's right and what's noble and with the things they know they should be doing. Therefore, the Lord Almighty, the mighty one of Israel, declares, I will vent my wrath on my foes and avenge myself on my enemies. I will turn my hand against you. I will thoroughly purge away your dross and remove all your impurities. I will restore your leaders as in days of old, your rulers as at the beginning. Afterward, you will be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion will be delivered with justice, her patient ones with righteousness. But rebels and sinners will both be broken, and those who forsake the Lord will perish. You will be ashamed because of the sacred oaks in which you have delighted. You will be disgraced because of the gardens that you have chosen. You will be like an oak with fading leaves, like a garden without water. Now, if you know anything about a garden without water, there's no way it can't survive. You need water to live. And so this is what he's explaining to his children right now. The mighty man will become tender and his work as spark. Both will burn together with no one to quench the fire. And it takes us to chapter 2, the mountain of the Lord. I'll find this in Micah 4, 1 through 5. This is what Isaiah son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many peoples will come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his path. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. In the day of the Lord. You, Lord, have abandoned your people, the descendants, of Jacob. They are full of superstitions from the east. They practice divination like the Philistines and embrace pagan customs. Their land is full of silver and gold. There is no end to their treasures. Their land is full of horses. There is no end to their chariots. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to what their fingers have made. So people will be brought low and everyone humbled. Do not forgive them. And so the Lord warned his people about relying on all these chariots and horses, and they're trying to get up all this worldly possessions, and he does not want you putting all your faith and trust in that. Your faith and trust should be in him. He doesn't want you pursuing that, but yet still they're still accumulating all these horses and these chariots and things, the things that the Lord told you not to rely on. And as we do, sometimes we are we stray and start relying on some other things to bring us through or to deliver us or to, give us some breathing room in our situations other than relying on the Lord to open that door or make that way out of no way. And so let's just say you're falling deeper and deeper down the hole because you can get caught up in that to where you start relying on this all the time. Now you forget more and more about the Lord, who is responsible for supplying your needs. You'll forget about your source chasing resources all the time or chasing other means on trying to get things done. So it's just a reminder that don't put your faith and trust in worldly things. Put your faith and trust in the Lord. Now he can use give you those things and through different avenues to where you need to, where you can do the things you need to do. And you can, accumulate some stuff, but not just for keeping for yourself. It's to circulate amongst other people as well. Because God gives you stuff. He wants you to be a blessing, not to be a hoarder. So, all right, 10. Go into the rocks. Hide in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. The eyes of the arrogant will be humbled and human pride brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. The Lord Almighty has a day in store for all the proud and lofty, for all that is exalted, and they will be humbled. For all the cedars of Lebanon, tall and lofty, and all the oaks of Bashan. For all the towering mountains and all the high hills. For every lofty tower and every fortified wall. For every trading ship and every stately vessel. The arrogance of man will be brought low and human pride humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. And the idols will totally disappear. People will flee to caves in the rocks and to holes in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty when he rises to shake the earth. In that day, people will throw away to the moles and bats their idols of silver and idols of gold, which they made to worship. They will flee to caverns in the rocks and to the overhanging crags from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty when he rises to shake the earth. Stop trusting in mere humans who have but a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them in esteem? So, the Lord he's telling us, the things that you put all your praise on, the things that you put your admiration on, I'm going to humble you from those things. So when this day comes to where he shakes things up, you're going to run from those things. You're going to run from those idols. You're going to run from those people that you try to put on these high pedestals because they're not going to be able to help you. Because when the Lord starts moving and shaking, everything that you put your faith in, you're going to find out that your faith was misplaced. That your attention, your loyalties, your admiration, your love was misplaced, and things that are at his mercy. And so they say, "Well, I hold them in esteem." Now, it doesn't mean you can't honor people, but you're putting your trust in people who are not helping you, who are not trying to get you to a better position. They're not trying to teach you the right ways to go. They're not trying to lead you down a path of righteousness. They're not trying to get you to practice justice, to practice protecting and looking out for those who are less fortunate than you. So, like I say, when he shakes things up, they're going to be in the same position that you are. And chapter 3. Judgment on Jerusalem and Judah. See now, the Lord Almighty is about to take from Jerusalem and Judah both supply and support, all supplies of food and all supplies of water. The hero and the warrior, the judge and the prophet, the diviner and the elder, the captain of 50 and the man of rank, the counselor, skilled craftsman, and clever enchanter. I will make mere youths their officials. Children will rule over them. Now, this is not saying that actual children are going to go over them, but the people who are going to be over them, they will be like children. They're going to be immature. They're going to be selfish. They're not going to have great composure, and they're going to do things that are unwise, that hurts everybody, even those who are who are faithful and those who are not faithful. Everybody's in the same boat. Like I say, you can see some similarities to things that go now, especially in our nation. You have some people who are in leadership positions that do not have the acclimate to be there. They don't have the honor. They don't have the mindset, maturity to be in those positions, because a lot of times they do act like children. They're selfish and they do things they don't think about how it affects other people. They only worry about it affecting themselves, how they can benefit out of it. Doesn't matter who they hurt, doesn't matter who goes without, and they'll do those things and then they'll justify it to try to make themselves feel good. And so, we've had that for quite some time. So when he's saying I will make use their officials, children will rule over them, he's talking about the type of character and mindset of the people who are going to be in these leadership positions over everyone. People will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, the nobody against the honored. A man will seize one of his brothers in his father's house and say, "You have a cloak. You be our leader. Take charge of this heap of ruins." But in that day he will cry out, "I have no remedy. I have no food or clothing in my house. Do not make me the leader of the people." So it's going to get so bad that nobody wants to take over. Nobody wants to be responsible for leading anybody. Because, hey, what are they going to lead? There's nothing to lead. Everything's in a bad state. Things are desolate. Things are scarce. Who wants to be a leader in that time? Because that person is going to do nothing but get blamed from everybody else for the things that are going on. As much as people want to be in charge of something, this is a time where nobody wants to put their hands on any of it at all. Jerusalem staggers. Judah is falling. Their words and deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. The look on their faces testifies against them. They parade their sins like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them. They have brought disaster upon themselves. Tell the righteous it will be well with them, for they will enjoy the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked. Disaster is upon them. They will be paid back for what their hands have done. Youths oppress my people. Women rule over them. My people, your gods lead you astray. They turn you from the path. Now, in this part where he's talking about youths oppress my people, he's talking about the mindset of these people acting like children. And now you have the part where it says women rule over them. Now, that's not talking about women in general, because the Lord has never had a problem with a woman leading. If you go look at Judges and you look at Deborah, because he has placed a woman to make sure to be over his people. The problem with this is probably talking about more of the feminist movement, about people with agendas that are making rules over people or trying to get their agenda tied into where they want to have say so over how people react and respond to certain things. So, like I said, the Lord doesn't have a problem with a woman doing anything, but if the agenda is off, just like these youths oppress my people, if you have an ill agenda for the nation, for what people are trying to do and how they should to live and respond to things, yes, he has a problem with that. It's almost I want to say that. Think about Jezebel. That she was in a position because she was Ahab's wife, Ahab's wife, but she had power to where she had her own court. She had men in her court castrated. She was doing things behind the scenes that even Ahab wouldn't do in order to make sure he got what he needed or to extend her power and reach under that same category of mindset of people who are just willing to do whatever evil and wicked thing they can to try to have influence over people, to influence how the nation runs or how people respond to her or treat her or the things that she can do to other people. So 13, the Lord takes his place in court. He rises to judge the people. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and leaders of his people. It is you who have ruined my vineyard. The plunder from the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor? Declares the Lord Almighty. The Lord says, the women of Zion are haughty, walking along with outstretched necks, flirting with their eyes, strutting along with swaying hips, with ornaments jingling on their ankles. So we're going back to where we were talking about like different movements and different things. Now these women, they said they're arrogant. They're walking, they're prideful, they're flirting, and they're walking around with their hips. So they're like I said, they're arrogant, they're prideful, they're lustful, and they're doing things that are getting people that are getting people caught up because the way they're presenting themselves, and the Lord resists the proud. But not only that, but they also were doing things to bring hurt and harm to other people as well, and that is not what the Lord wants for any of us. And so he's calling, like I say, he's going to call everybody out on this. And so 17. Therefore the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the women of Zion. The Lord will make their scalps bald. In that day the Lord will snatch away their finery, their bangles and headbands and crescent necklaces, the earrings and bracelets and veils, the headdresses and anklets and sashes, the perfume bottles and charms, the signet rings and nose rings, the fine robes and the capes and cloaks, the purses and mirrors and the linen garments and tiaras and shawls. Instead of fragrance, there would be a stench. Instead of a sash, a rope. Instead of well-dressed hair, baldness. Instead of fine clothing, sackcloth. Instead of beauty, branding. So everything they prided themselves in for their looks and their possessions and the jewelry that they had, the Lord says, I'm finna strip all that from you. I'm finna strip y'all down to the bare basics. Because everything that you've used and you put your pride and arrogance in because you've had and things you were able to wear and how you were able to do things, he's going to strip them totally down, break them down. This is what we're talking about humble. He said they're going to be humble. They're going to be extremely humble. 25, your men will fall by the sword, your warriors in battle. The gates of Zion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground. In chapter 4. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, we will eat our own food and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace. So they're going to, they're going to do things on their own. They just want the name. They don't really want anything from him other thing. They just want to be, have his last name. We'll come back on that maybe. But let's say you had a bunch of women. It's going to get that bad to where people are going to be really focused on themselves. The branch of the Lord. In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of the survivors of Israel. Those who are left in Zion, who remain in Jerusalem, will be called holy. All who are recorded among the living in Jerusalem. The Lord will wash away the filth of the women of Zion. He will cleanse their bloodstains from Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. Then the Lord will create over all of Mount Zion and over those who assemble there a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. Over everything, the glory will be a canopy. Now we've seen that when the Israelites came out of Egypt, and how he was on Mount Sinai, had the cloud during the day and the fire on the mountain by night. It will be a shelter and a shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain. In chapter 5, the Song of the Vineyard. I will sing for the one I love a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a winepress as well. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now you dwellers in Jerusalem and people of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? So what do you say? Now, if I put good things and did the work in this vineyard, I went, I tilled it, I got everything ready, I planted the choicest vines in it, which means the things I wanted to put in it in this vineyard. Why am I not getting the return that I put so much time and effort into? If I only put good things into it, why am I getting a bad harvest back? So this is why he's asking them, which is a fair question. If I put good things in it, shouldn't I look? Is it wrong for me to look to get good things back? They say when I look for good grapes, why did it only yield bad? Now I will tell you what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and briars and thorns will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the nation of Israel, and the people of Judah are the vines he delighted in. And he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed, for righteousness, but heard cries of distress. So they tell you what the vineyard is. And this nation that he delighted in, that he put these good things in, that he's looking for a certain harvest, and all he got was bloodshed and cries for distress. Woes and judgments. Woe to you who add house to house and join field to field till no space is left and you live alone in the land. The Lord Almighty has declared in my hearing, surely the great houses will become desolate, the fine mansions left without occupants. A 10-acre vineyard will produce only a bath of wine. A homer of seed will yield only an ephah of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night till they are inflamed with wine. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, pipes and timbrels and wine, but they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the work of his hands. Therefore my people will go into exile for lack of understanding. Those of high rank will die of hunger, and the common people will be parched with thirst. Now that statement right there, therefore my people will go into exile for lack of understanding. Understanding is so important for us because the thing he's told us in Bible what we read earlier about how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to use what we have to circulate, how we can have things, but we're supposed to look out for each other. We're supposed to be our brother's keeper. We're not supposed to look to get over on each other. We're not supposed to look to oppress each other. We're supposed to live together. We're supposed to live in a way that honors the Lord. But so many people have not done it because we get selfish. Where it talked about, you're combining houses, you're combining acres, and you live there by yourself. Why you got all these mansions and you only live by yourself? That's selfishness, covetousness. There's more than enough room. You have more than enough for everybody, but we're looking at more than how we can accumulate more and more and more by ourselves. So in these times, they're saying, well, you're going to go into exile because of lack of understanding. When you don't understand what the Lord wants you to do, you lose out on a whole lot more of what he wants to bless you with. And so they said high-ranking people are going to die of hunger, and the common people will be parched with thirst. So it's going to affect everybody. No matter what position you're in, everybody's going to go through it. I wish that was a lesson that people in this nation understood, that we are all in this together. No matter how much money you have, no matter whether you were born with a silver spoon or a plastic one, fine china or paper plates, everything's connected. We're all in this together. Everybody's in it together. And so while we're trying to there's so much trying to separate us and trying to isolate ourselves from each other, And then, but the fact is, when the Lord passes judgment, nobody's safe. We're all going to face it. It rains on the just and the unjust. And this is, things he's trying to get through to them. He said, you're going to go into this because of lack of understanding. When you don't know, our people perish for what? The lack of knowledge. Knowledge is so important, because if you forget the thing, a saying goes, if you forget the past, you're doomed to repeat it. A lot of people haven't forgot the past. They're trying to erase it so they can keep doing the same thing. They make the same mistakes again without guilt this time. But like I said, you can try to, but whenever these things happen, it affects everybody. Right, 14. Therefore, death expands its jaws, opening wide its mouth. Into it will descend their nobles and masses with all their brawls and revelers. So when it talks about Sheol has to widen itself. No, Sheol has to widen itself for y'all, because the more y'all do with the things y'all doing, more and more people are going to go there every day. So this say death expands its jaws, opening it wide its mouth. It will expand to to be able to accommodate all the people who are going to be going down there. To all the people who is going to be filled with all the souls. 15. So people will be brought low and everyone humbled. The eyes of the arrogant humbled. But the Lord Almighty will be exalted by his justice, and the holy God will be proved holy by his righteous acts. Then sheep will graze as in their own pasture, lambs will feed among the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit, and wickedness as with cart ropes. To those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work so we may see it, the plan of the Holy One of Israel, let it approach, let it come into view so we may know it. So in other words, they're shaking their fist at God, saying, well, if he's going to do us, bring it on, so let us see it. They're they're just in right out defiance. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. When it tells us not lean not to our own understanding, but these are the people who consider themselves to be smarter than everyone else. That they consider the way they see things is how it is, and and some of these people don't even have a clue of what's going on. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks. Well, apparently these people who like to drink a lot, or just like to drink and pride themselves in being able to drink and do things. Who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down in the flames, so their roots will decay and their flowers blown away like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty and spurned the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the Lord's anger burns against his people. His hand is raised and he strikes them down. The mountains shake and the dead bodies are like refuse in the streets. Yet, for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still unpraised. So, after all this stuff that's happening, he's still in his anger is not turned away. His hand's still not getting the credit he deserves. He lifts up a banner from the distant nations. He whistles for those at the ends of the earth. Here they come, swiftly and speedily. Not one of them grows tired or stumbles. No one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt is loosened at the waist. Not a sandal strap is broken. Their arrows are sharp. All their bows are strong. Their horses' hooves seem like flint. Their chariot wheels like a whirlwind. Their roar is like that of the lion. They roar like young lions. They growl as they seize their prey and carry it off with no one to rescue. In that day they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea. And if no one looks at the land, there's only darkness and distress. Even the sun will be darkened by the clouds. So even during these things that happen, they're not going to stop doing what they do. And then chapter 6, almost done. Isaiah's commission. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. Holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorpost and the threshold shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for. So apparently his Isaiah's impurity was dealing with his mouth, which, for a lot of us, our impurities have to deal with our mouth also. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go from us? And I said, Here I am, send me. Now, I think in the Greek it says, Lo, send me. But in other words, he said, Isaiah volunteered to be the one to go. He said, Go and tell this people, be ever hearing, but never understanding, be ever seeing, but never perceiving. Make the heart of this people calloused, make their ears dull, and close their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. Then I said, For how long, Lord? And he answered, Until the cities lie ruined and without inhabitant, until the houses are left deserted and the fields ruined and ravaged, until the Lord has sent everyone far away and the land is utterly forsaken. And though a tent remains in the land, it will again be laid waste. But as the terebinth and oak leaves stumps, when they are cut down, so the holy seed will be the stump in the land. And that brings us to the end of chapter 6. So we're going to get into more Isaiah chapter 7, more of what the Lord is asking him to do next week. But this is dealing with a time where the Lord told him these things are going to happen because there have prophets here to tell them and warn the people. And, just like it said in those last couple of verses in chapter 6, they're going to shut their ears off. They're going to shut their eyes off. They're not going to want to understand. They're not going to want to hear what's going on, because if they could, they would return and they would be healed. But they're shut off from that revelation now. They're turned off from it. So there's no hope for them going back. They're going to have to go forward and experience the judgment for all the things that they've done. And so, like I said, this is there's a lot of similes and things about things that are going on today and things that are going on with then. But like I said, it reminded us that we can get to a point where we can be shut off from Revelation too, because of the way we see things and the way we treat people and the way we go about our daily lives and try to meet our needs, and without looking out for other people or without looking for what the Lord wants us to do with the things that we have. So it's easy to get into that point, and we'll pass it on from generation to generation. The Lord will try to give us warnings, but there comes a point where we don't want to hear it. We don't respond to it. And so they're at these Judah and Jerusalem and Israel, they're at this point now to where they're going to have to face the consequences for their rebellion. And so we don't want that to happen to us. So, it's great for us to have this lesson to come back to make sure that we're staying on the right path, that we're keeping things into the right space about how the Lord wants us to do things. And so we'll finish this up. We'll finish up now. Once again, thank you everybody for watching. If you're watching the replay, thank you all for watching the replay as well. We'll see the ways to support and donate. If you want to send your offering, just put your phone or whatever to the screen, take you right to the Cash App. We'll try to do this back every Thursday, probably 11 a.m. Going forward. So, and we'll let you know if any changes happen. But also, this one also be on the YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like the Facebook page, the YouTube page. It'll probably be up on the YouTube probably later on today, or maybe tonight. But once again, thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a great day and a great rest of the week. Happy Father's Day this weekend for all the fathers as well. And so hope you have a great Father's Day also. So with that said, thank you guys. Love you. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time.